Denver. And what a game we had here inside of this building. Royce, I think we have seen the full gamut of types of games that the Thunder could play potentially in the playoffs. We've seen the massive comebacks. We've seen the clutch time wins. We've seen the blowouts. And then tonight, a overtime game between the Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. And this, it just had so much of the environment that the Thunder was talking about expecting coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, this was a playoff game in the purest sense of the word. I mean, no lead was ever really all that sizable. The Thunder got off to a little bit of a big lead early, if you want to call it that, was 8 or 10 points. But this game was tight throughout. 5 to 7 points basically the entire game, and it came down to late game execution. Obviously, with the Thunder having the ball in possession with a chance to maybe hit a dagger shot to prevent an overtime period. But again, credit to the Nuggets, they come up with the stop there, and then Aaron Gordon's able to tie the game again from that corner three. So I mean, this was just a great back and forth game, and then obviously in the overtime period, Denver was able to execute at a little higher level than the Thunder were. OKC just couldn't get shots to fall. Some of them were good. I mean, they were the Isaiah Hartenstein floater, the shots that you want to see, just couldn't get them to fall in. And
a lot of those shots that we saw from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we have seen him make those sort of shots all season long. Just didn't get the chance to fall here tonight. But Royce, I want to ask you what you saw, particularly in overtime and in that fourth quarter, that Denver may have done on the defensive end of the floor to slow OKC down.
Well, obviously, I mean, they're almost playing like a triangle in two.
Yeah.
I mean, they are shading to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander basically more than any team ever has.
Yeah.
And again, you know, SGA is trying to find his spots, and I thought he really managed the game well throughout it. But again, you know, late game situation, you know, the Thunder naturally want the ball in the likely MVP's hands, and so it gets difficult to run your offense at different times. And it really felt like the Thunder did kind of stall out at some possessions and got a little ISO heavy. But you know, the funny thing is, Paris, in a lot of those possessions, you know, I think everybody in the world would take the ball in SGA's hands with a mid-range pull-up jumper that looks pretty clean. And in this case, the ball didn't go in the basket.
Right.
So, you know, I think that a lot of times you can judge these shots whether or not they go in. Tonight, they just didn't go in.
And that's just sometimes how the ball bounces. But for now, let's get over to the press room and hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault post-game.
Mark, what did you see from Denver's defense down the stretch into the fourth quarter to kind of stall the offense into more isolation?
Yeah, I mean, at that point in the game, it becomes more of a possession game, so it just naturally slows down, and you got to execute. I thought we did some good things on some possessions. They obviously made a couple more plays, but things we can take a look at as we go into Game 4.
Overall, were you satisfied with the offensive process through the fourth and overtime?
Well, first of all, on a night where we didn't shoot the ball great, I thought we manufactured really well. You know, like we got offensive rebounds, we got stuff in transition. We were able to attack the paint, attack the rim. So that's what you have to do when you're not making a ton of jump shots. And we did that for much of the game. In terms of down the stretch and overtime, we'll take a look at it, but it becomes an execution game at that point, trying to generate the best shots you can. It's hard for both teams, obviously, in that situation. And credit Denver, they made a couple more plays.
I know it's not so simple, but before Shai checks in the fourth, it feels like Doug is cooking. And then when Shai checks in, obviously he's still trying to get a feel for the game, but he's shooting step-back threes. It feels like a few possessions straight. Did you feel like you maybe could have went to Dub a little more in that fourth quarter?
I mean, we can look at it, but, I mean, those guys have a great chemistry on the court together and find a nice blend. We're not going to, like, push the same button repeatedly. A lot of that stuff happens in the flow, and that's where, as a team, you got to have trust and you got to work together. And, you know, we've made a habit of that all year. So we'll look at the possessions and the execution and all that stuff and learn from it as usual, but I didn't think there was anything to that.
First half, the off-ball movement on the offside of the court seemed to really get you guys some easy looks. Second half, not so much. Was it something that they did specifically to take that away?
Yeah, I thought we attacked the zone pretty well on some possessions there in the first half. I thought some of that came against the zone. They played less zone in the second half. We'll have to look at it, but I thought generally, like I said, on a night where we didn't shoot it great with jump shots, we manufactured a lot and gave ourselves control of the game. Late into the fourth, and you know, down the stretch, they just made a couple more plays than we did.
Had it gone first half, and did you see anything different from the Nuggets to kind of take that away from you guys in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, some of that just might have been shot making, but he played a really good game tonight, both ends of the floor. You know, continues to help us on the glass. His rim protection really helps us behind all their actions. And offensively, I liked his aggressiveness. I liked the plays he made, the shots he took. Can't control whether or not they go in, but I thought generally he had a good floor game tonight.
Coach, it felt like Jamal got some decent separation on some of those screens. Just from your own viewpoint, how would you address how the physicality was in terms of Denver setting screens and you guys trying to fight over that?
Yeah, I mean, we did a really good job on him last game. They moved him more off ball tonight and got him running around that way to try to free him up. That's what good teams do, good players do. They have solutions to a lot of things, and they did a good job of shaking him free on some plays. But generally, I thought 102 points in regulation. I thought we did a pretty good job defensively on the game. Obviously, he made some plays, but I thought we made them earn a lot of their stuff.
Coach, to kind of piggyback off what you just said, you guys held Nikola to 8 of 28 shooting and 8 turnovers. What were we doing well, and what you like what you did against him?
Yeah, like I said, we did a lot of good things tonight. It's obviously lousy to lose, but you can take a lot away, and we want to be a team that's improving through the series. You can't let the outcomes of the games distract you from that process, because that's what will drive the next outcome. And so I thought we did a lot of good things. Did a lot of good things on him. It was a really hard-fought game by both teams. It wasn't an easy game for anybody. I thought we did some good things on him.
At the same time, does it, sting a little bit knowing that, again, this is you get this version of Nikola tonight, and you don't come away with the win?
Losses always sting, especially in the playoffs, but what I would say is, like, we are in the process of becoming a great team, and we've checked a lot of boxes in that process. And one thing that it takes to be a great team is you get taken to the limit in the playoffs, and you've got to rise to the challenges that you're confronted with. This team's made a habit of doing that repeatedly. I have full confidence we'll continue to do that, but we have to embrace what this is. It's the playoffs. It's the highest level of basketball. It's incredibly challenging. And this is how you become stronger as a team, is you learn from these experiences, you stand up to them, and you improve. And that's our challenge right now.
Sort of speaking of a question that was earlier on in the same vein, J-Dub gets to 32 points with about 1:11 in the fourth. He doesn't get another shot until late into OT on that last, desperation shot. What exactly were they doing to sort of just close him off, or did the ball just not find him?
I'll go ahead and look at it. The first play in overtime was for him. He had the ball in his hands there, and we're certainly aware of him. But if he's got it going, they're obviously going to show a lot of help to him, and he's going to have to make plays off the ball. So, like I said, it's not like a button that you're pushing. A lot of his stuff tonight came in the flow. That's how we play. And we'll evaluate the possessions, but I thought the team's intentions were good, which is the most important thing.
Coach, Aaron Gordon, just his presence and what he was able to do on both ends of the floor, what have you been seeing from him in the sense of him being kind of a thorn to the side of what you guys are doing? And did you see anything differently in this game compared to the other two?
He's a really good player, first of all, so I don't think he's punching above his weight. This is who he is. He's been an incredible piece of their team for a long period of time, and he's shown up in these games. He made some big plays, big shots tonight, so we tip our hat to him. But I thought generally we did a good job with his driving tonight. We'll take a look at it, but we got to rise to the challenge of it. They're a really good team. They're obviously up 2-1 in the series, and our challenge is to be a better team on Sunday.
You mentioned the offensive flow. Late in games, it seems like there's been a little bit more stagnant offense. Would you attribute that more to what they're doing defensively, or tired legs on your guys' end just from playing a lot of minutes? Where do you think that would, the root of that issue would be?
I just think, one thing is it's really hard to manufacture advantages late in games just because of the nature of a possession game, especially when the pace gets slowed like this. I think it was challenging for both teams. It was a grind in the last 6 minutes of that game for everybody. And so it just comes down to who can execute, who can make the most plays. They executed a little better, made a couple more plays. I think that's what it comes down to. We'll evaluate it. We're always trying to get better in every area of the game, but ultimately I think that's what it comes down to.
Their first offensive rebound didn't come till 6:10 left in the third quarter. You win the rebound battle, win the turnover battle. No, there are no silver linings in playoff games, but does this one sting a little less considering those are things that you won, and the reasons that you may feel like you lost are things that you can easily clean up?
Yeah, we want to improve through the series. You know, that's how you have to approach a playoff series. It's a long series, and you have to improve as you go. And I think we've done a lot of improving since we started the series. And those two, you know, you're talking about the rebounding, transition defense. You know, those are examples of areas where we've really improved. Like I said tonight, we didn't make a ton of jump shots. They shot the ball well from three. I don't know what they shot. They shot 40% from three. So on a night where we didn't win that battle in terms of shot making, we were able to manufacture ourselves into a very competitive game, and that's a credit to the way the guys executed. So, you know, it sucks to lose, but you can't throw everything out the window when you do. You got to learn from the good and the bad.
Anyone else? Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, good stuff there from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault, really breaking down this game tonight. And I love the point that he brought up where, you know, the Denver Nuggets, they shot the ball incredibly well throughout really the majority of the night. The Thunder couldn't quite match that shot making, especially from the three-point line. And yet this was still a very close, very tight game. And that speaks to how Oklahoma City was able to manufacture offense. Royce, for those who might not understand what that means, what does it mean to manufacture some offense?
I mean, it's just kind of scoring dirty, scoring gross, you know, just finding ways to put the ball in the basket. And that's what the Thunder did through a lot of this game. And, you know, again, like Coach Mark was talking about, you know, it might feel a little empty calorie to talk about silver linings or upsides to a game like this, but it is reality that the Thunder did not shoot the ball well in this game. So trying to manufacture those points is difficult. And the truth is, if one of those jumpers goes down late, this game feels a lot different there, because the Thunder did do an excellent job of kind of doing it. One thing I do want to go back to that Mark pointed out was, you know, I know there's going to be a lot of conversation kind of about OKC's execution and offense down the stretch there. And, you know, it sounded like from some of the questioning that there's a fixation maybe on why isn't J-Dub having the ball well. It sounds like what they're kind of insinuating is like, just put J-Dub in isolation there. And so, like, that's not the way the Thunder have ever played. That's not the way that they really try to execute these things. They get their offense by trying to create advantages against the defense. So what you're asking them to do there is play out a character just because the ball was going in the basket for J-Dub at a high level without considering how the ball was going in the basket for J-Dub there. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not as easy as it looks when the possessions get so heavy like that late in games.
And to your point, when it gets to a possession game, and Coach Daigneault talked about this, it's just really hard to generate points, much less overcome a deficit and get yourself out of a hole, especially when you're on the road in this sort of environment and you're down in a possession game. You have a lot of odds stacked against you, and so it's a tall task. And the Thunder, they had a lot of quality looks, they had a lot of opportunities, and just some of those shots didn't fall their way, and that's just the nature of competition. That's the nature of basketball. And to add on maybe one more bright spot to this game, we should talk about the fact that the Thunder did a great job in the paint battle tonight, completely outscoring Denver. And this has been a big theme for Oklahoma City in this series, taking care of business, not just scoring in the paint, but also limiting Denver in their ability to score in the paint.
Yeah, the Thunder did a tremendous job specifically on Nikola Jokic tonight. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, you missed your opportunity. You held Jokic down. But I also think that there's some upside there with the Thunder and their execution of their game plan and how they've defended him throughout the series. They've made him turn the ball over quite a bit, and they've made him play in a crowd quite a bit. So a lot of this game, you know, I think when you zoom out and as the team kind of looks through the tape, there's a shooting variance element here. Michael Porter Jr. deserves a ton of credit. He hit some really tough shots throughout this game, and that really opened up a lot of what Denver's offense was able to do.
Well, these are really high caliber players, and this is why the playoffs are so difficult. It is high intensity basketball for a full 48 minutes, and this game add 5 to that as well. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We have got much more to break down here inside of Ball Arena, and we'll also hear from some Thunder players as well.
Air Comfort Solutions has always stood for cooling, heating, plumbing, and electrical services you can count on. Assuring comfort since 2004, our Oklahoma Strong team stands for accuracy, confidence, and support where and when homes need us most. Today, with our refreshed look and our expanded services, ACS stands for achieving 100% customer satisfaction as we stand tall and do it all for OKC Homes. Like a $69 AC tune-up to keep your home comfortable year-round. For whatever your home needs, don't stress. Call ACS.
Experience the sweet, vibrant flavors of Mexico in every spoonful of Brahms' new fancy sundaes. Enjoy a cascade of fresh fruits on Brahms' Tarta de Fresa Crema Sundae. Indulge in creamy cinnamon-kissed ice cream with silky caramel on the Chongo Zamorano Sundae. Dive into strawberry paradise with Brahms' Fresas con Crema Sundae and savor each caramel-filled bite of Brahms Sopapilla Cheesecake Sundae. Authentic flavors, bold traditions, and irresistible sweetness in every scoop only at Brahms.
Big wins are blooming across Riverwind Casino. And the jackpots have never been sweeter.
Go all in on your favorite table game.
Hedge your bets on the biggest wins and unbeatable entertainment.
Use your wild card for the best perks and the top rewards.
And play for your share of the $100,000 Lucky May Days giveaway. Win with the best.
And we'll see you at Riverwind.
Welcome back to downtown Denver and Thunder playoff postgame Game 3 action here inside of Ball Arena. The Thunder falling shy to the Denver Nuggets in overtime, 113-104. Denver now leads the series 2-1 as we head into Game 4 just in a couple of days. Well, it was a late tip-off here. And it was even later in Oklahoma City, but that did not stop the folks, the great Thunder fans out there in Tulsa and Thunder Hall showing up and showing out. All of the great energy. Didn't get the outcome we necessarily wanted, but all of that energy, that is incredible to see. Loud City showing up for Oklahoma City. Fassler Hall is now Thunder Hall, your official Thunder watch party destination for the playoffs. Watch the Thunder on the big screen for Game 4 on Sunday with giveaways, good food, and more. Head to okcthunder.com/Thunder Hall for more info. As we welcome you back inside of Ball Arena, and thank you so much for staying up late with us. I know it's a late night back in Oklahoma City, but you caught some really awesome action out here in Denver, an overtime game between the Thunder and the Nuggets, and a lot of great takeaways for Oklahoma City in this game. You fall shy to the Denver Nuggets, but you know that you didn't quite have your fastball in terms of the shot making in this one. You expect some regression back to the mean maybe in Game 4, but defensively, what sort of execution-wise can the Thunder take away from this one?
Well, Thunder did a great job of keeping the Nuggets out of transition, really, and making all their possessions slow down to a pretty substantial grind in a lot of ways. They had to get into second and third and fourth actions at different times, and when you make a team pass the ball against you like that, the Thunder a lot of times are exceptional at turning them over and being able to turn defense to offense. So, you know, I think as we all kind of zoom out on this game, you know, one thing to think about is coming off of Game 2 where the Thunder obviously played tremendously well. It's never as good as it necessarily feels in a playoff game, and it's never as bad as it might necessarily feel, and it's all about turning the page to that next game. And so, you know, it was the same kind of principle that Denver had in Oklahoma City in a lot of ways of want to come home with a split. Well, that's the position the Thunder are now in, and so that opportunity still stands in front of them. And despite not getting a positive outcome tonight, I do think specifically on the defensive end, there's a lot of positivity there with how OKC was able to really kind of grind Denver to a halt. Yeah,
and it felt like throughout the game, Royce, you and I were sitting right next to each other watching this game, and it just felt like I kept looking over to you like, man, Denver's missing a lot of bunnies around the rim in this game, and a lot of that had to do with the pressure that Oklahoma City was applying on the rim and not allowing anything easy for Denver. Let's flip to the other side of the floor and talk about a couple of guys who had big games tonight. Chet Holmgren's first half of this game felt really strong, came out with a lot of confidence in this one.
Chet looked awesome in that first half, and really the Thunder started kind of slow collectively offensively. SGA only had 5 points at halftime, which is highly uncharacteristic for him, and I think he only took 7 or 8 shot attempts in that first half. Again, kind of speaking to the scheme that Denver was employing to really try to limit him and turn him more into a playmaker, and the beneficiary of that, Paris, was in a lot of ways Chet Holmgren, who was very active, had some great finishes around the rim, an incredible catch for an alley-oop. So good to see from Chet, you know, and so those are those kind of areas that you try to look to where maybe there's more opportunity there, as Denver, I'm sure, will look to do a lot of the same things that they did in this game, because I'm sure they feel pretty good about their defensive performance as well.
And then another guy I want to bring up as well, Jalen Williams, J-Dub. I mean, He's had such a strong playoff run so far in this postseason. But 32 points tonight. He was very efficient from the floor. What stood out about his game?
Well, J-Dub just was great at his attacks. I mean, he was very forceful, very aggressive. And, we were talking about when we were sitting there, the scheme was very clear when number 2 had the ball for the Thunder, but they couldn't deploy that same sort of theme with J-Dub, who got a lot more single coverage off of his catches and was able to attack into space, get to his spots a lot better. And even J-Dub, for as well as he played, he had a few finishes at the rim that I'm sure he'd like to have back. So, but he shot the ball well, got to his spots, was aggressive, and really great to see from J-Dub. So, again, we're looking, if you're looking for some of that positivity upside, that's, I think, a really good thing to carry into Game 4 for the Thunder.
Yeah, a lot of bright spots from this one, and the Thunder's going to look back at this, like you said, and see a lot of things that went right and a few things that went wrong. It's never as bad as you might think, and it's also never as good as it really feels in the moment. It's just the heightened atmosphere of the playoffs. That's just what you get, and the Thunder had a lot of good elements to this one that they could certainly roll over into their next performance on Game 4, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Go back to the drawing board, get back to 0-0 like we hear so often, and get ready for matchup here in Ball Arena in Game 4. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We're bringing in some more folks to help us break down this Game 3 action we had here tonight.
Big car payments? That's no fun. Even if you love your car or truck, the wrong vehicle loan can leave you wondering where your money goes and if your payment could have been lower. So if you're paying more than you should on your car loan every month, give a little love to your budget and contact Communication Federal Credit Union. There's no cost to find out if we can help. Plus, all new vehicle loans and refinances get the first 90 days with no payment. Love your car and your loan payment with Communication Federal.
Let Loves be your partner on your summer RV trip. Fuel up, grab a bite to eat, and stay the night at one of our 90 RV stops. Reserve an RV spot overnight and turn on amenities from your phone. With over 420 dog parks, we've even got your furry family members covered. We're the perfect pit stop for your next road trip. Loves, the heart of a highway.
With OG&E Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. If you're a busy bee, go with Smart Hours Daily, where daily...
Might ask you just your takeaway from what he said.
Big car payments? That's no fun. Even if you love your car or truck, the wrong vehicle loan can leave you wondering where your money goes and if your payment could have been lower. So if you're paying more than you should on your car loan every month, give a little love to your budget and contact Communication Federal Credit Union. There's no cost to find out if we can help. Plus, all new vehicle loans and refinances get the first 90 days with no payment. Love your car and your loan payment with Communication Federal.
Let Loves be your partner on your summer RV trip. Fuel up, grab a bite to eat, and stay the night at one of our 90 RV stops. Reserve an RV spot overnight and turn on amenities from your phone. With over 420 dog parks, we've even got your furry family members covered. We're the perfect pit stop for your next road trip. Loves, the heart of a highway.
With OG&E Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. If you're a busy bee, go with Smart Hours Daily, where daily price alerts let you maximize savings. Or how about Smart Hours Fixed? Just set it and forget it. Night owl? Choose Smart Hours overnight. No matter which you choose, with Smart Hours, you control your energy and your savings. When you reduce your energy use between 2 and 7 p.m. this summer, you help the grid, the environment, and your wallet. But you have to sign up to save. So sign up now at oge.com/smarthours.
Welcome back to Ball Arena. We are coming to you live from the Mile High City, the site for tonight's action. Game 3 between the Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. This one went into overtime, the Thunder falling just shy, 113-104. And Denver now holds the series lead 2-1. And here to help us break down the action that we saw here inside of Ball Arena, all this overtime action, we brought in News 9's very own Steve McGehee. And Steve, you were just in there in the press conference with Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault. What were your biggest takeaways from what he said?
Well, he always stays even-keeled, win or lose. You know, it's not too bad, it's not too great, but, you know, they have to rise to the challenge. That's what he's going to present that to his team. for Sunday because they didn't want to go back home down 3-1 in the series, but he liked a lot of things. I agree with him. You know, you hold Denver to 102 points in 4 quarters of basketball. That's pretty good. And Oklahoma City did not shoot the ball well in the game, especially late. I thought when Dub hit that 3 to put them up 100-99, I thought if they get a defensive stop, I think we're in good shape, and it just didn't turn out. And then Aaron Gordon, once again, 2 wins for the Nuggets, thanks to Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, you know, Steve, as we kind of think about the way that this game transpired, and you get a kind of an off night from Nikola Jokic, again, a lot of credit to the Thunder, and I think the way that they defended him. But for OKC, kind of being able to repeat that sort of thing, that feels like a tall task in Game 4. So what do you kind of see from the Thunder? You know, do you feel like that this was just a missed opportunity in that way?
A missed opportunity, just not being able to score late when he had the ball and he had a chance to go up by 3 or 4, perhaps. Michael Porter Jr., he really stepped up for them, 5 out of 6 from the field. I don't think we saw that one coming, and then it comes down to Gordon making that shot. And in overtime, they just, you know, there's a lid on the basket right here. They just couldn't get any type of flow, and then the crowd really got into it. I think the crowd was a factor in overtime more so than the first 4 quarters of the game. Oklahoma City just, they didn't get rattled. You know, they were down 1. They took the lead back a couple times. It's just, it was unfortunate the final 3 minutes, the final 2 minutes of the game, they couldn't get the field goals they wanted, and it allowed Denver to hit a last-second shot to force the game into overtime. But Shea didn't shoot the ball well. You mentioned Jokic. Shea didn't shoot the ball well, so I expect both of those guys to shoot much better in game number 4.
Now, Steve, I know it can seem a bit hollow to talk about silver linings after a game like this, but one of the ones that Royce and I were talking about were how the Thunder did a great job in the paint battle tonight, outscoring the Nuggets by a sizable margin, but more importantly, keeping the Nuggets from scoring in the paint throughout the game. What did you see in that area of the game for Oklahoma City and how they were able to win that battle?
Well, you knew Denver's going to do all they can to get some rebounds after, you know, what happened in game number 2. And the Thunder did a great job. Chet, I really think, came out with some aggressive moves. He looked really dominant there in the first quarter. And then Dub, you know, took over from there. It's just the rebounding was great. Hartenstein didn't finish in double figures in rebounds, and so did Chet, and so did Shea. So that's pretty good. They out-rebounded him. It just, again, it comes back to that, the final few moments of the game, they just could not make that bucket. And then in overtime, they only scored 2 points. That's not a good. It's not a good mix there. But they can learn from this. They were this close to winning tonight. They were just this close to winning in game number 1. So and Oklahoma City was very dominant in their win. I still feel good about the Thunder coming up in game number 4. I know Shea's going to take this game to heart, and he's going to come out with a force on Sunday.
That's what I was going to ask you about, Steve, is just kind of being around SGA and his kind of poise and composure. Obviously, you know, it looked like he got some good looks, but, you know, the Nuggets were obviously really scheming him to try to take the ball out of his hands. What do you see from SGA and maybe what he and the team could do better to maybe get him a little bit more unlocked for game 4?
I thought he had good looks tonight. They just were not going in, and we've seen him score those shots before all season long. They just did not go in tonight. The Thunder missed 64 shots in this game, so that's a telling part of this, what happened tonight. But I think Shea will respond. He always does.
Yeah.
He has an off shooting night, and you know, he knows what's at stake here. You don't want to go home in a 2-game hole. So I expect Shea to shine on Sunday on Mother's Day.
I love that.
We're definitely looking forward to that. And Steve McGehee, always great to have you on. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.
All right, we've got more coming for you here on Thunder Playoff Postgame. We will hear from Thunder players when we come back right after this break.
My doctor is my hero.
My doctor makes me happy, makes me feel safe.
It helps me get strong.
We're just so grateful that we don't have to travel out of state.
Oklahoma Children's Hospital cares for my child like their own.
Gives us hope.
And has our trust.
Leadership starts at home. That's why Ford is from America, for America. And with a lineup of our most popular Ford trucks and SUVs, we're for Oklahoma, too.
We're
including F-150, Bronco, and Expedition. That's our leadership lineup. Right now, get employee pricing. You pay what we pay. Ford, from America, for America. At your best in Oklahoma Ford dealers. Proud truck partner of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Hey, have you heard what's happening at Mathis Home? The Monumental Savings event is happening right now. Save big on our newest arrivals. We have hundreds of sofas with styles you love at unbeatable prices. Like this one. At just $5.99, you can enjoy this contemporary sofa by Ashley, complete with 5 accent pillows. Just one of over 100 great sofas in stock and ready for you to enjoy tonight with fast and free delivery. So don't miss out on the Monumental Savings event happening at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
3, 2, and we're back.
Welcome back to downtown Denver and Ball Arena. The backdrop for tonight's game between the Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Game 3 action that went into overtime, a thriller, 113-104. Denver now leads the series 2-1 as we head into Game 4, which will take place on Sunday. Immediately after each game, stream second-round Thunder post-game playoff coverage and local Cardinals or Royals games on the Thunder FanDuel Sports Network app. Subscribe now. As we welcome you back inside of Ball Arena, I'm Paris Lawson, sitting next to Royce Young. And Royce, let's look ahead now, because the Thunder, they do this so well, they get back to 0-0. We heard this from Coach Daigneault after Game 1, that, again, heartbreaking loss against the Nuggets to open up this series. And he said, look, we don't get any more confidence from a win, and we don't get any more sense of urgency from a loss. We just have a baseline that we try to get back to.
I was thinking the same thing about kind of the baseline comment that Coach Mark made there, and that I think a lot of people are thinking about, all right, here's the Thunder's time to punch back, and that's not necessarily the case. It's about reestablishing their standards, having a good day of practice tomorrow, being ready to play in Sunday's game. I'd also say, you know, maybe it's not good vibes to bring it up, but the Thunder were in this position last year against the Dallas Mavericks in the second round, and really did respond in a number of ways in that Game 4 and was able to even that series. Obviously, you know, the new experience would be able to play better in a Game 5, but you can't go that far ahead here. But, you know, the Thunder, this young team has at least kind of felt this before, been down in a series 2-1, and, you know, that urgency, that pressure, whatever you want to think about, they've embraced that before. So this is about zeroing out again, getting ready, having a good day of practice, and then setting yourself up for a good performance in Game 4.
A great point. This is not new territory necessarily for this group. They've been through this experience before, and we know one thing about this group: they learn from every single experience. And something that Steve McGehee brought up that I think is pertinent to remember going into Game 4 is that the Thunder held the Denver Nuggets to 102 points through 4 quarters. It's a very winnable game, and if a couple more shots fall for Oklahoma City, this could be a very different conversation we're having.
Yeah, I was just looking at, 9 of 35 from 3, and, you know, if you look at a lot of the main characters that are typically very quality from the three-point line, and got a lot of good looks, but a lot of them just didn't go down, and some of them were a little bit higher degree of difficulty. But I suspect, again, that if you're going to look at the tape, you're going to feel pretty good about your shot quality on a lot of those three-point looks. You know, again, there's going to be kind of a fixation on the final 4 minutes of this game because of just that's the way that playoff basketball works. It shouldn't be anything foreign to Thunder fans that have watched, 17 to 18 seasons of this sort of stuff, had the benefit of that. But, I think that it's one of those things where, if you can zoom out and see kind of the bigger picture of the game, there was a lot more opportunities to maybe grow that 5-point lead to 10 or 12, where the Thunder weren't able to capitalize on some of the stops that they got.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that can give you some encouragement heading into Game 4, which will take place on Sunday. Let's take a look at the series schedule coming up. As I mentioned, Game 4 on Sunday. That's an early tip-off. I know we've had a lot of late tip-offs so far, so make sure you mark your calendars on Sunday. That is a 2:30 p.m. tip-off, and then we know for sure there will be a Game 5. That's going to be on Tuesday, and that has been announced that game will be an 8:30 p.m. Central Time tip-off, and that will be on TNT. And then Game 6 at Denver, that'll be on Thursday. Game 7, if necessary, Sunday, and that time still to be determined. So for Oklahoma City, you got a night tonight, you got the day tomorrow to get a good practice in. Royce, if you could anticipate what might be going on in that film session, what the conversations might be like, what's top of mind?
I think you're dialing in on some of the scheme that maybe the Nuggets kind of unveiled. It wasn't necessarily anything extremely out of the ordinary with the way that they defended Shea, but clearly they were trying to take the ball out of his hands, specifically in that first half. Again, 8 shot attempts for SGA is unusual. 22 for the game. He was unable to kind of get to some of his spots throughout the game as he was seeing really just a crowd around him constantly. They were essentially, like I said, it was almost like a triangle and 2 of sorts, moments where there was a second defender kind of hovered over and kind of shadowing SGA at a lot of different times. So maybe different ways, not necessarily to unlock even Shea, but just to play the advantage against the opposing team if they're going to kind of employ that sort of thing. Because, again, that's what OKC's always trying to create, is that advantage on offense.
Well, we heard from Coach Daigneault before the game. The Thunder has seen so many schemes this season, and even the last 2 seasons, really, they had such a good offense that teams were forced to kind of empty the notebook and the playbook on all the defensive schemes that they could possibly use. So the Thunder has a nice little catalog now that they can go back to and look, okay, how do we unlock this sort of junk defense or this sort of zone? And now they have even more to add to that with everything that Denver was throwing at them in this game. It just felt like they were mixing up their coverages left and right every possession.
It's a great call, Paris. I think vividly of Coach Mark talking about that, that's kind of the benefit of that, is that you get a lot of different looks and experiences yourself, whether it's on tape or just kind of feeling what that feels like of these sorts of teams. Again, this is something different because of the weight that the playoffs can kind of bring with some of these possessions. But, I do think that the Thunder can go back and see some opportunities where maybe they could have got the ball down to the free throw line and created some of that backside action that they're typically so good with their cutting and off-ball movement there. So, that'll be something I'm sure that they'll look into during this extra day off.
Well, Royce, what do you say we go to the press room and hear from Jalen Williams, J-Dub, who's at the podium?
Dub, it just felt like that fourth quarter in particular, there was no flow at all from anybody from either team. What's it like to be on the floor in a game like that?
You want to do media with me or no? Yeah, well, we go together. Okay, I can still answer your question. We didn't collectively get enough stops, and they're too good of a team to not buckle down and get some, so that was part of our issue. They're also at home, so any run seems a lot worse than what it may be. So just go back to the drawing board, figure out ways that we can kind of buckle down and throw some different looks and just be better throughout the course of their runs. Like, we understand that, they're going to have runs same way we are. I think kind of what hurt, too, is just, us being up and not being able to, slam the door and, kind of get some more separation. But it's the playoffs. It happens. It's going to test your conviction. And, obviously they were a better team down the stretch.
Chid, you guys have an opportunity a couple days from now. Seemed like first half you had some really great scoring punch on kind of the second side action. J-Dub, same thing in the second half. What did you feel like you two guys did well in terms of attacking that could be carryovers for Game 4?
Yeah, we played aggressive. I feel like it was bigger than just us two, though. As a team, we were really trusting of each other, trusting to make the right play and trusting that the next guy would do the same. And it led to good plays for us when we do that and pair that with aggression. So we just got to continue to do that. And, we got to be able to do that for 48 minutes. Not saying that I felt like we did it tonight. We just got to continue to do that and then trust where that leaves us.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Sorry, Jalen. Coach was saying before this that you guys are in the process of becoming a great team and you're checking a lot of boxes so far, but one of the ones that you're still learning about yourselves is how you respond after losses, and he has every confidence that you will respond. To be a great team, what's the response you guys want to see in Game 4?
Just as a team, we know it's just not easy. It's the playoffs, bro. We're playing against a team that's very good, that's won at a high rate. I think we've done a good job of just understanding it's going to test our conviction. Not everything's all sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs through it, and it's about how you win these days in between. And I think that's what makes a really good team. Even give them, for example, they get a landslide victory we have, and then for them coming around and win an OT is kind of how the same approach that we have to have to it, and kind of carry that for the rest of the season and rest of the series, and just kind of go from there. But it's all about our attitude going into these games.
Go ahead, Mark.
Dub, Mark was in here and he was really crediting your ability to get going and just sort of the flow of the offense, but he talked about late in games that it can get sort of stagnant, just sort of the possession game really stacking up. You only got one shot in the later fourth in OT. What sort of happened, because he talked about guys limiting touches whenever a guy really has it going, what sort of limited your touches in those environments?
Nothing. Yeah, best closer in the NBA, and he was getting to spots that we wanted him to get to, and he was shooting the ball. And I mean, if I want to go force a shot, obviously I can. But we have other talented guys on the team. I don't even think I shot one shot in that. I think I turned the ball over twice. So, I mean, those are opportunities to score or create for others too. So, I have my opportunities. I'm never going to sit up here and complain about touches or something like that. I have the ball a lot. But yeah, we have guys out there that can score and make big plays. And I actually thought we got pretty decent shots down the stretch, just didn't make them. And more importantly, just our defense down the stretch. We gave up some tough ones down the stretch, and just they were better. I'm not going to sit here and say it was like me getting one touch down the stretch.
Along those lines, Jalen, Coach talked about, you guys were able to limit these guys to 102 points heading into overtime, so the defense was stern. What do you think went wrong in that overtime period that allowed them to go on that big run?
I don't want to give a vague answer. I probably have to watch the game again. There's a lot of emotion and individual reflecting that I would do before I give that answer, but on a broad scale, just stops, getting back. I mean, they hit some tough ones down the stretch. I think maybe some fouls that we could have avoided, maybe some offensive rebounds. I would honestly have to look and watch that final stretch to really give you a really specific answer, but I think we just gotta, to give a broad one, we just gotta buckle down to the fundamentals and figure out how to score the ball too.
How did you see things from your point of view?
I'd give you the same answer. I don't want to say anything without going back and watching it first and seeing kind of exactly what happened. When you're out there playing, you only have one point of view, and there's 9 other guys out there moving around, and it's happening quick. So I couldn't give you an answer on exactly what happened on each play. But I'm gonna go back and watch it and figure it out so we can do better next time.
Anyone else? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, J-Dub and Chet Holmgren there following tonight's game in Game 3 action. And obviously a lot of emotion in this one, a game that goes into overtime in such a loud environment. But I really liked what J-Dub said there. These are the moments that test your conviction as a team, and it's really important now to win the days in between the games to test your mettle here.
No question. And again, I kind of go back to that experience last year where they were in it and their conviction was tested, and they did a great job in a Game 4 environment on the road, down 2-1 in a series. So, again, this is a great experience for this young group. Their conviction was tested also in Game 2 in Oklahoma City. Think back to what transpired at the end of Game 1 with the Thunder holding that big double-digit lead, letting it slip through their fingers, watching an Aaron Gordon shot go in on them, and then they were able to respond the way that they did, get back to 0 and respond the way they did in Game 2. So, you can't necessarily make a projection and say that that's what's going to happen in Game 4, but we've seen from this team that when their conviction gets tested, like Coach Mark said, there's every reason to have belief and confidence in this group.
Yeah, there's a blueprint for how the Thunder can respond after a game like this, and we've seen it already in this series. So a lot of encouragement that you could take with you as the Thunder head into Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets. That'll take place right here inside of Ball Arena on Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Thanks so much for staying up late with us here in Denver in this Game 3 action that went into overtime. What a game we had here tonight. Once again, our final score 113-104 with the series now 2-1 Denver lead. For Royce Young, I'm Paris Lawson. A reminder to join us for a complete breakdown and reaction following Game 4 from Denver on Sunday afternoon. Until then, good night from Denver.
Value. It's our free gift to you. And the best part, it's yours to keep, even if you return the Shark Power Detect and True Pet and Allergen package. This special limited time offer isn't available at retail. It's only when you order directly from Shark. Ask your